Hello and welcome back to LTC Heroes Live by Experience Care. My name is Peter Murphy and Lewis. I'm your host. I'm excited to be talking to Lonnie Steckler today. He's the managing partner at the Pointe of North Gables, really close to Miami, Florida. Lonnie, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. Really appreciate it, Peter.
Lonnie, we have a lot to talk about, and you have a cool background, especially for such a young individual to be a managing partner. Why don't you introduce us to your initiation story? What was the first day you set your professional foot in a long-term care facility? And then I'll kind of guide you through there and when you figured out you were going to be a lifer.
Well, first of all, I appreciate you saying that I'm young. That's very generous of you. Really appreciate that. It all depends on how far back we want to go. I mean, this could take all day.
we have a full hour. Take me back to what you remember when you started to put together kind of your chronological timeline of like, oh yeah, this makes sense. This is where I got my feet wet.
So I got my first taste of senior housing when I was in college. My stepfather, who's one of my biggest mentors, Harvey Rafofsky, he had a facility, actually a campus that had a independent living community and assisted living community locally, where near where where I grew up, really. And so when I came home from college during breaks, summer, spring break, what have you, he would always give me an opportunity to make a little extra money at the community. So I painted apartments, I painted patios, I interviewed residents for their monthly newsletter. I got a really good taste of what that community was like. I really enjoyed talking to the residents. I enjoyed talking with the staff there. And so it kind of planted the seed a little bit. I had never thought about it before, but it planted the seed. I finished university, and then I decided I wanted to go to grad school for social work. And when I was in grad school, I had to pick an internship. And the internship that I picked was working at the Miami Jewish Home. And so at the Miami Jewish Home, it's this huge campus. They have every level of care there. They have a hospital unit, skilled nursing, dementia unit, assisted living facility, independent living. It was huge and overwhelming. But, I thought this was a good opportunity to try this out and see if I really like it. And I did. I loved it. I worked under a social worker there who really took me under her wings, and she was really amazing at just taking the time to teach me how to be a social worker in that environment. And what I loved about it was, a couple of things that I took away from it. One, they had this program where prior to moving in, a resident would be interviewed by the social worker to get a full biography of that person's history, where they're from, what accomplishments did they have during their lifetime, what did they do for a living, what was their family like. It was a full story of their life. And it was the social worker's responsibility to talk to the resident, the future resident, and their family to summarize all of that. So as I gained more experience there, she gave me the opportunity to do that for a client, for a resident that was coming in. And that really stuck with me. Talking to that person who was at the time, must have been in their late 80s or 90, and learning about their life, where they were born. They grew up in the 30s and served during World War II and helped liberate Jews, and then started a family. Just the whole story was absolutely fascinating to me, and I loved every minute of it. And then, so as they're moving in, you get to present their biography in front of the entire team of people that are going to take care of this individual. And I was so nervous. I was an intern, but it was one of those moments that you just never forget, because it was such a captivating story. I got to present in front of a bunch of people, and this resident moved in, and it really, to me, it was it's just such a great program that they offered, such a great thing that they did, so that everybody involved knew who this person was. And to me, that was really special. The second thing was I got an opportunity to facilitate a spousal support group for spouses that had a husband or a wife with Alzheimer's. And that was, at the time I was in my early 20s, and it was really heavy stuff. And it was really difficult. It was such a great challenge being a co-facilitator in that group. But it taught me the power of group therapy, and it taught me how to ask the right questions to get good feedback and good responses, and to elicit different emotions. So that was the second thing that really took hold for me. And so I knew then and there that this was the track I wanted to go down. So
That's a cool story. How long would you say that you wore the social worker hat?
yeah, so when I graduated from school and got a job working at a skilled nursing facility, and I was a discharge planner, social worker, case manager for probably 5 or 6 years, and really enjoyed that. Kind of worked my way up. It started as a social worker, then became director of social services. And I was fortunate enough to work for a really good company. It was HCR Manicare at the time. And this is going back, 20, 25 years ago. At the time, they were the leading nursing home provider in the country. So the administrator at the time, she called me up one day out of nowhere and asked me if I wanted to go into the AIT program and become an assistant administrator. And the truth is, I had never really thought of it before. I was really focused on social services, being a good director. I was learning all about, now I had a staff of 2 or 3 people that I was managing, and I was trying to figure that out as well. So I hadn't really thought about it, but when she offered it, it made sense. And so I went into that program. And was the assistant administrator under her for some time. But as soon as I got licensed, I remember taking the test, got licensed, went to work the next day, and they said, Lonnie, we're transferring you to your first skilled nursing facility. So they put me right into the fire. And I'll never forget this facility. It was a 120 bed, all skilled nursing facility in Boca. So there were no long-term care beds. It was all skilled. They specialized it in ortho rehab, and it was run more like a hospital than it was a nursing home. And it was a great challenge, having that as your first go at nursing home administration. But I learned a lot, and I did really well in that company. They taught me about systems management, how to develop systems, implement them, and supervise them, and make sure, I was taught by one of my mentors to always inspect what you expect, learn that there. And so I always tell people, this is where I grew up in my career. This is where I learned all of those things. So I got a great experience working for HCR Manicare. I worked for that company for about 10 years, managing different skilled nursing facilities for them. And then got an opportunity to jump over to assisted living. And I've been in the assisted living world ever since.
Question for you in terms of, before you became an administrator, What was the role that you think most impacted the way that you ran your team as an administrator?
Well, I think that being a social worker gave me an advantage. And I tell people this all the time, that social workers make the best administrators. Why? Because social work teaches you how to listen, first and foremost, how to listen to people, how to understand their perspective, how to understand their emotions. And then from that point, you can get that person to understand your perspective. And it teaches you how to ask the right questions. Like I did in that group therapy. It forced me to ask the right questions to get to an end goal. And the idea is so that everybody can work together towards a common goal. So it really helped me on the management side, dealing with employees, dealing with staff, how to talk to them, and how to change behavior without anger, without any problems.
Do you still, based upon your observation that social workers make great administrators, do you keep your eyes particularly open for social workers and try and recruit them into long-term care because of your experience?
Well, yes. I haven't had too many opportunities to bring on social workers, but it does happen from time to time. I was fortunate enough where people gave me opportunities and really took the time to teach me. So from time to time, I do meet a social worker and talk with a social worker and really encourage them to do whatever they want, because social workers can do whatever they want. They could apply what they've learned through their social work skills in any field whatsoever. And also, I like to do marketing as well. So when I first started in assisted living, when I transitioned from a nursing home administrator to assisted living, one of the things that I found was, being a social worker and a nursing home administrator gave me a competitive advantage over other people in the assisted living world. Why? Because I was able to go into the nursing facility setting where we get a lot of referrals and go straight to the social worker and talk to the social workers and not even talk about marketing or my facility or anything like that. Just, hey, how's it going? Is there anything I can do to help you? I've been in your shoes. I know what you do, and I know the challenges you face. I can help you. Anything you need. And same with the nursing home administrators. I can walk right into a nursing home administrator's office and talk with them also and be a resource for them. So it's my way to give back.
I've given a lot of public speeches in South America as an entrepreneur, and whenever I get the question, what is something that happened to me early in life that impacted the way that I have run my companies or my teams, and I often say that it was my first job out of college was a social worker. I was worked as an HIV/AIDS social worker for the homeless population in North Boston, and everything that you just said, I would say, are things that I learned because of that job. So I think it's the first time social work has ever come up in one of my podcasts. So
Oh,
I'm
that's
glad we were
awesome.
able to pause on that for 10 minutes or so. Lonnie, I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you in terms of kind of, you move around, you move an administrator. What was it like when you first took over your first facility, purchased, then sold, and then got to where you are now? Tell me a little bit about that evolution and how you started to see things differently and maybe started to think about whether it be market analysis or started to think about opportunities and how you could deliver care, but also do it in a unique way and kind of put your mark on your brand.
Yeah, so when I became a nursing home administrator, that's the first time I ever looked at a financial report. I had never seen a profit and loss statement. And I'll never forget when I was an assistant administrator, my administrator at the time, she was on vacation or whatever, and I was trying to hold the fort down for her. And the regional director at the time called an emergency meeting where she needed all the administrators to get together to review the recent profit and loss statement because as a region, we did terrible. So I had very little experience, if any at all, at reading a P&L. So I took P&L and I studied it. I didn't sleep that night because I needed to learn what every line item meant. So in that case, I learned by fire. Going into, I ended up really enjoying the process of analyzing a profit and loss statement. I enjoyed presenting it to the other administrators. Like I really, it was something that I hadn't anticipated, hadn't planned on. And, it turns out that I really like numbers. A social worker who really likes numbers. It was strange, but I learned that about me. And so when I went into the assisted living world, I was given an opportunity to have some equity in assisted living. And so my role changed quickly from an operator of a large company to basically a family operated facility that was struggling. So that, then I started to learn about valuation, because the facility wasn't doing well. The owners at the time needed an exit strategy, and they were far away from that point. So I was on my own now to create a budget, to reach a goal. I was able to get the facility from 70% occupancy to 95% occupancy. And once we were stabilized, then we were able to refinance and then renovate the building and go through all of the renovations and capital expenditures. And then get it to a point where we were ready to sell. And that's when I learned about the acquisition valuation, more on the evaluation, cap rates, and then the actual selling of the property. And that was my first time dealing with the financing aspect as well. And really, getting a hold of that. And then, once I sold that facility, I then parlayed that into my next facility in Miami. So, and again, going through the acquisition process and dealing with banks and all of that stuff.
What did you do to improve your census back then? And is there anything that you did back then that's still applicable today in the digital era?
Yeah, well, I've always held on to one principle, and that is to identify the people who have the power to refer. That for me, when you go into a market, the first thing you need to do is identify who those people are, specifically list them, have all of their information, identify them so you know who those people are, who they are, and how do they have the power to refer. And then you need to develop a relationship with them. And that's what I've done in every market that I've been in. And I've been in quite a few, Palm Beach, Broward, Miami, same thing, same principle, same practice. And fortunately, I had always been successful in getting facilities up to 90%. It's always been my kind of thing. That's always been a great challenge, and I love doing it. And I did it using that principle. Today, things are a bit different. Things have changed. Things have evolved. You can't solely rely on those boots on the ground marketing, and so you have to venture into social media. You have to understand technology and the power of that, and how that gets you to those people who have the power to refer. So that's something I learned within the last 5 or 6 years, actually since I've been in Miami. And I've been fortunate enough that my business partner here in Miami, he's a marketing guru. He when it comes to digital and social media, he is the expert. So fortunately, I've had him to kind of teach me how to do this thing. And so together with his marketing expertise and my operational expertise, we've been able to be really successful in the marketing.
I have two follow-up questions on that. If you were to make a list today, let's say you're opening in the same location you are brand new today, and you're going to write down that list. What does that list look like? Is that I'm going to join the Rotary Club, I'm going to join the board at X high school, and get on the Chamber of Commerce? What does that look like for you?
Well, it depends on where the facility is located. I usually start with skilled nursing facilities because that's just second nature to me. So, and social workers, case managers. I find out who all of the social workers and case managers are in the area, and the nursing home administrators, and then the physicians. Obviously, you want to talk with the physicians who have large practices in the area and see a lot of elderly patients. And then I go to the churches, the synagogues, the community centers to find out, or, just to let them know that we're here for them, that we offer an important service in the community. And then there's your local officials. The Pointe in North Gables is in a small municipality called the City of West Miami. And so it's important to get to know all of those people too, the commissioners, the mayor, and all of the other officials that are there, because they have family and friends too. So that to me, that's always been kind of my focus.
Thanks. My second question, maybe this is a follow-up conversation I should have with your business partner, but you've probably been in the room enough to be able to answer it to a certain degree. What works for you all in the digital age? Like, if let's just say you have, five eggs to put in a basket, how many eggs are going towards paid ads? How many are going towards, your website? How many are paying to a place like a place for your mom? Like, how would you divvy up your eggs in the digital area?
So I don't do any published marketing. We're not in any magazines, newsletters, anything like that. Social media, Facebook, Instagram, we do a lot of that. So any dollars that we have will go into that.
Organic or mostly paid?
Both. Well, it's mostly organic, really. We post a lot of our activities, our special events, resident interviews, staff interviews. We really use that as a forum for people to get to know us and get to know what we do, what differentiates us. What differentiates us are the not only the care and services, but the activities as well. We want people to see what we're doing. We try to bring on unique ideas, things that other people aren't doing. We started a program probably like 6-7 months ago, where we offer virtual reality to the residents. So we purchased Oculus, and we told the residents that tomorrow we're going to take you to a place you've never been in the world. You're going to pick the place that you've always wanted to travel to, and then we're going to take you there. How are you guys going to do this? So then we
That's cool.
set them up with virtual reality, and they have an application that will take you to any place in the world, and they can look around. It could be Italy. It could be a lot of people here are from Cuba, so they want to go to the beach there, the beach that they used to go to when they were a kid, and they get an opportunity to hang out and see the beach where they used to go as a kid. So something like that that's unique, we will blast all over social media. We'll boost it, and we'll make sure people know, hey, this is what we're doing over here. We're having a good time.
That's really cool. I've heard of virtual reality coming in, but I haven't heard of someone using it, as I guess as a unique differentiator. I think that I've heard people more kind of testing it with a local university or so forth. Question for you in terms of, doing things differently. If I were to look at your marketing budget and compare it to a normal assisted living on the West Coast, let's say Sarasota, where would it look differently? Do you have maybe one extra marketing employee? Do you have are you spending more money in kind of the research and development of new ideas? Like maybe you're spending 5 hours more a month and thinking with your business partner and your marketing director of what can we do that's different? Or maybe you're spending more on your video with your interviews. Like how would it differ from, your peer in Sarasota?
That's a good question. I would say that we're not spending as much money as they are. I know a lot of assisted living facilities rely on placement counselors, placement agencies to do a lot of the marketing work for them. We try not to. We do work with placement agencies, but it's a select few. We don't work with just do contracts with everyone. We have 3 or 4 that we like to work with, that we trust, that we know, and then the rest we rely on our silly marketing campaigns. That's we will go out and I'll spend money on like little marketing gadgets, for social workers. We did one campaign where we bought these little pots and soil with seeds that residents can plant, and within like a week it grows this plant. And we went to the nursing homes and we said, we want to host an activity for you. We want to do an activity for you, and it involves gardening. But so we got a hold of the activity directors in those places, and we would host an activity for them. So we got an opportunity to go in there. I spent, maybe $500 on these things, and we go in there, we get a full, hour with the activity people and the residents there, and they are left with this, cute little plant. And then, after that, we go back and we're here. We want to see where the plants are. We want to see how much they've grown, and we get another opportunity to go in the facility, and they're excited to see us. Oh, look, it's Lonnie from the Pointe. Yeah, come check out the plants. And it just gives us an opportunity to be around the people that will give us, will refer patients to us.
I know this is anecdotal and this isn't going to pass anyone's scientific test, but do you have any kind of unique marketing social activities that you've done that like, oh, this is going to be fun. You never expected for it to get you a tour or to bring a prospect into your facility, and then maybe like a month later you had someone bring it up and say, hey, you know what, I saw this on Facebook, or I heard you did this type of thing, and you're like, wow, I didn't think that it would have a return on investment. We just did it for fun. Anything you can think of that like you did from the heart and it ended up actually helping you with census?
Um, hmm, that's a good question.
I know I'm putting you on the spot a lot, so if you want to pass on that, we could come back to it another time, because I know that I want to have you and your partner on for another chat.
So let me see. There's just been so many. I'm sure there is one. Um, I can't think of one off the top of my
Oh,
head.
if it comes up, feel free. We can come back to it. I
Yeah,
want
yeah.
to I want to move into you kind of your unique demographic. What percentage of your residents are Cuban American or Cuban?
I would say 85%.
And did you work with that demographic before starting and taking over the Point at North Gables?
I did work briefly at a facility in Kendall, which is West Miami, West Miami. And I worked in a nursing home there for 3 or 4 years. And that was my first experience, but it was different than the facility I'm in now. There are many more English speaking people there. I didn't have to rely on Spanish at all in order to work there. Versus here at the Point, I think I'm the only person in this facility that was born in the United States. Well, actually, I was born in Canada, so maybe born in North America. I'm the only person. Everybody else
That's
born in Cuba or some other Latin American
I,
country.
I'm going to ask you about what were the challenges that you faced, but I want to slide into that question by saying, how has that changed you? What have you learned by being the minority and learning from others about their culture and either the way that you approach listening or the way that you approach humor or maybe the way you lead? Because you and I shared before I hit record that you and I have share something in common. I'm a gringo. I live in South America right now. You and I are talking. I'm in Santiago, Chile.
Oh, really?
So I learn constantly. One of my favorite books is the Five Languages of Love, and one of the things that's changed me most in life is being surrounded by people who think, act, pray, love differently. I'm wondering how that has changed you.
Well, it certainly put my leadership skills to the test, for sure. One of the main things you need with good leadership is good communication. So when you can't communicate with your staff and your residents, it's quite a challenge. But the amazing thing is, I can't say that it was all that difficult. And it's not because of me, it's because of them, the culture. They're very warm. They embraced me from day one, but with caution. I could tell, like they didn't fully accept me, but they said, okay, we'll give you a chance. Let's see what this guy's all about, sort of thing. Okay. I learned, I had worked with different cultures before, so it wasn't my first time dealing with this type of situation, maybe not as intense, but so I knew going in that one, I needed to learn the language. I needed to try to learn the language at least. It's not even, I don't speak fluent Spanish. I know enough to carry a conversation, or I can listen to a conversation as long as they're talking slowly. I can understand what they're saying. But I find that no matter what culture you're dealing with, if you just try to learn the language, it's just such a great sign of respect, and it'll be returned. So that was first and foremost. I remember when I first started, or even before, I said, okay, I got to get a teacher. I got a teacher, and I worked with her for a few months. And then when I got here, it was like I hadn't learned anything. I was like, it's one thing to learn it from a teacher, and then to apply it once you're in the middle of it. So I've learned most of my stuff just being here, working with the team, and the team has taught me a lot as well. They take the time with me to teach me, which is great. So that's first and foremost, is learning the language, and then food, learning the food. Food's so important in culture. So, I had to try a lot of food that I had never tried before, and really embraced it. Like Cuban food is great. I love vaca frita. It's one of my favorite foods now. And one of the things that I did that really made a difference was we did some sort of potluck thing here at the facility, and I brought a Cuban dish. I made arroz imperial. Never made it before, but I wanted to try, and I felt like they would really get a kick out of it. So I made this huge dish of arroz imperial and brought it in, and they were so excited. They were so happy, and thank God it tasted pretty good too. So they really enjoyed that, and they saw that I was fully committed, that I was fully in this, fully invested, that I have their back, and I think that was a pivotal moment. Actually, that was a pivotal moment here, because I remember not too long after that, it was my 1-year anniversary here in the facility, and the staff, they gave me an award. So it was pretty cute. They all signed it and framed it, and it was presented to me as I'm Jewish, so they presented me as the Jubano of the year.
That's awesome.
The facility. So that was like the moment where, like, okay, I belong now. I'm in. And now, 5 years later, I feel like they fully got my back.
That is cool. Speaking of speaking of awards, I understand that this year you won the Administrator of the Year award in Florida Healthcare Association. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
I want to know how you reacted when you found out, and congrats. And then I want to know, at the emotional level, what was your reaction? Who did you call? Who did you thank on your team?
Oh man, this is going to be a disappointing story. I was totally shocked. I had no idea that this was happening. And so it was during the Florida Healthcare Conference, and they have an annual conference. This one was in Orlando, and I go to that every year. And so I had no idea that this was happening. And when the president, Marco Carrasco, he was talking about the person. They talk about the person without naming the person, one of those things. And so he's talking about this guy, and I'm listening to the first line, the second line, and then by the third line, I'm like, this guy kind of sounds like me. I was not prepared at all. So then I started to get, like, the heart is just beating out of my chest, and I see people like start looking at me, and I'm like, oh no, this is really happening.
Oh,
and
no.
He calls my name, and I'm like, oh my God. I go up there, and then I see my family rush to the side of the stage. I had no idea they were there. My wife, my 2 kids, my mom was there. I was speechless. I choked when I went up there. I didn't know what to say. This is
not disappointing. This is amazing.
I totally choked. And I can't even remember what I said, because I out of my mind. And then afterwards, I just, went straight to my family and hugged them. Afterwards, I got flooded with all of the people who were so impactful in my life, all the mentors, and my family, my wife. I didn't even thank my wife. You can imagine the fallout from that.
For the listeners who have not won this award or maybe aren't on the board and help make the decision, I've been to probably 9 or 10 conventions this year and watched the Administrator of the Year award be presented. I would say the majority of people have a reaction like you. Almost no one knows that it's going to happen beforehand, and people are very unprepared, and watching the shock and the emotion and what you said, I think is pretty common, and it's cool to see it. I think even if you miss the words and you miss some thank yous, including your wife, people can see the emotion in your eyes and in your face when you've spent 25 years taking care of our seniors, in a humble, modest role. You don't get a lot of shout outs. So when you get a shout out on stage in front of 500, 1,000, or 1,500, sometimes you don't know what to say.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. It's very nice of you to say. And certainly, my wife, that's exactly what she said to me. She said, "Don't worry." But afterwards, I made a point to write handwritten notes to everybody that made a difference, that gave me opportunities throughout my career, because obviously without them, I would not be where I am today, especially my wife, who has been such a tremendous support throughout the years, and especially through the last couple of years that have been extraordinarily difficult.
Well, Lonnie, it was a pleasure getting to meet you, and I'm really glad you joined us on LTC Heroes. And hopefully in 2023, I can come visit you down in Miami or meet you at one of the conventions. Do you have any parting words? I'd really appreciate your time.
No problem. Absolutely. You're always welcome. You come down to Miami, we'll get you some colada, cafecito, pastelitos, whatever you want.
Talk to you soon. Thank you, Lonnie.
All right.